I'm Steve Frayser. I'm the Executive Director at Star Park and one of Andreas's minions. What we're going to do tonight is we have 8 really outstanding companies who are going to talk about their technologies, and it's going to be an elevator pitch. We have some very well qualified judges, and in just a second we're going to have them introduce themselves. The rules for the evening are everyone who is judging is either an accredited investor or has a fund and is interested in the kinds of technologies that these folks are trying to take to market. And the advantage for the companies is they get to try a pitch on someone who might be interested in them. And they also get exposure to you as an audience of folks who are key players in the industry. They have exactly 3 minutes. They are supposed to cover who they are in their team, what it is they're trying to do, why anyone ought to care about it, and what's the unique value proposition that they bring. Then there will be 3 minutes of feedback from the judges, and each judge has been assigned a team that they need to give feedback to. So with that, our very first company, and oh, I'm sorry. Let's have the judges introduce themselves.
My name is Gabriel Reyna. I'm with Bandera Capital, so we're a multifamily office and invest in a number of asset classes, but early stage venture is an area that we play in. So.
Hi, Don Morrison. In the venture space, work with a fund called Unshackled Ventures out of California.
Hey, my name is Hauke Roeschmann. I am an entrepreneur in residence with Texas State University. I'm a business consultant and an angel investor for early stage companies.
Craig Lawrence, a founder and partner of Energy Transition Ventures. We invest in early stage technology companies driving the energy transition.
And so we will call you up. You'll present from the dais. And our first company up is Creative 3D Technologies.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here. My name is Ethan Barron. I'm the founder and CEO of Creative 3D Technologies. We make really advanced 3D printers, and we just opened up a facility up in Northeast Austin, Texas. The idea and the easy way to understand us is to compare us almost to paper printing back in the day. When you want something printed, you would send that order to a print shop, and they would have all the different tools all under one roof to get it done. Different colors, different stamping, everything to make whatever that print was. And eventually Xerox comes out and brings the whole print shop into one box that now most everyone has in a lot of their offices. Right now, I think 3D printing is in a very similar state where you need to know what you want to print before buying a printer. You want something furniture size like the chairs you're sitting in, you buy a larger, less precise printer, and if you have a $50,000 budget, you have one company you can go to buy it. And that's all it does, larger, less precise parts. You want something closer to the size of a phone case off that, you want coin face detail, you want metal, carbon fiber, medical grade, industrial grade, or even bioprinter design. Everyone's got their own niche within the industry, and even though it looks very polluted from the outside, it's a lot less competitive when you look deep down into it because very few people are selling each specialty printer, each price to your customer. So we're coming into the industry doing essentially one entire suite of 10 plus separate special machines, do all on their own, all in one for more than 95% less than the closest competition. Except unlike the issue of being kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, not only are we less expensive than any of those 10 plus printers, so it makes a lot more sense for a customer to buy us instead of any of those individual specialty printers, but individually outperforming them all in their own task. And bring it in to make parts that were previously not possible. So we're messing with anywhere from ocean plastic and waste materials that are a lot more efficient to print than just standard thermoplastics to metals, Inconels, tungstens, titaniums, foods, paste, pellets, silicons, whatever you want on one platform affordably, and with the exact same ease of use as trying to use a service. We initially started out of a business that controlled a lot of the industry since we're the only refurbisher and actual innovation firm in the industry, and we provide the developments for over 90 different companies for over 5 years, and eventually just want to do better. So our team moved over and started this company. I know a lot of people that have managed to break the odds and do really well. So at the moment, we've overfunded our previous 2 rounds that we've done. We have a facility up in Northeast Austin that we're ramping up to debut a new product that improves upon that all-in-one suite. And we also have a new product that we're trying to launch towards 2026 that improves upon the concept of layer by layer additive, but starts to merge in full manufacturing. So essentially one box we can end-to-end manufacture full product, anywhere from personalized medicines to functional drones without screws, including wiring and circuitry, to our debut models for that's going to be a 1,300 horsepower, almost entirely printed car, including the engine block, and just kind of whole factory in a box. But we're later debuting that with the aim of, again, decentralizing and distributing the whole manufacturing process.
3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. So I think I may have missed it. Are you selling the printers, or are you selling a service where people just send you designs and you develop?
We sell the printers themselves, but we are competing with services because it costs less for someone to buy a printer, and like I said, the exact same amount of clicks for someone if they want to use a service to do it for them, to get a better quality part that's stronger with tighter tolerances in a fraction of the time by just buying one of our printers directly and using us instead. We made it very easy to use, but not dumbed down.
And what's the price point? Is it sort of one product suite that does all these different types of printing, or is it
one modular platform that can essentially be that? So each module can, if you want to encompass, say, 5 years down the line, whatever the latest type of printing is, and swap it on, they tend to go between $300 to $500, so they're a recurring revenue source for us. But the unit itself is a $10,000 unit with a 70% margin. We also have a $12,000 Pro version of it as well. And the closest competition's over $175,000, does less than half the function, sets on fire.
Got it. And last question,
Yeah?
where are you seeing the volume of activity in 3D printing? Is it, my last experience, it was mainly just sort of around prototyping and engineering development. Are people now using it for production, and is yours designed for that?
It is. The reason that we haven't seen 3D printing in a mass production sense hasn't been the lack of ability. It's capable of making parts that utilize geometries that weren't previously manufacturable to outperform traditional manufacturing. The problem has been it's a jobbing process, and it's been limited in material. If you want to print 50 parts, it's going to take the same amount of time to print them sequentially, one after another, as it would to fill the whole bed with 50 parts, because it's one head working on 50 parts. We've turned to a sequential batch process, making multiple parts at the same time. Print two, move over, print two, move over, print two, move over. And in essentially whatever material you could want. So it makes it a lot more efficient for that larger scale manufacturing. On top of that, at the price point, the industry, it's going to take, because we have a lot of insights on our competition, it's going to take over 4 years for someone to make a competing product with this. The market's 5xing within the next 5 years. If you make a product that's at 5% of your current price point, of course, no one's going to be able to compete with it. We can essentially corner that marketplace and become an instant industry leader, and that's a lot of what we've been seeing in terms of the price point strategy, because we're expecting, maybe a $1.1 million quarter, and we're looking at a backlog of over 11.5. So there's been extensive demand for what we've had, which has been exciting.
Thanks, and I don't know how much time I have.
2:30, thank you. With that, I would like to invite the next team up, and that would be Cenis. Yes, round of applause. Woo.
Hi everyone, my name is Panos, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zenus. What we do in 3 words is ethical facial analysis. So you might be familiar with maybe your iPhone that unlocks with Face ID. You might have seen some small implementations here and there. But what we do it at scale. So with one camera, we can cover this entire room, analyze dozens, hundreds of faces at the same time. We do not identify individuals. We don't know who is who. But we can say how many people are in the area, how long they stayed, if they're men, if they're women, if they're young, if they're old, and how they are feeling. And I don't know if you know, but this is actually, the room actually has cameras around, and we're analyzing this session and the entire event to see which sessions have been the most impactful for the audience. One investor, like a couple of years ago, he told me, hey, Panos, everybody understands the value of facial analysis, but the company that is going to make it as easy to use as the light bulb that goes on my fridge when I open the door, that's the company that is going to make it. So we have seen what are the limitations of facial analysis. Uploading video to the cloud requires a lot of bandwidth, dozens, hundreds of gigabytes of data per day. Even if you have a magic wand and you can upload all the data, it is very, very, very expensive to process everything on the cloud. And last but not least, you have a lot of data privacy issues, limitations. You cannot store or transmit people's faces and analyze them without consent. So what we have done, we have created a very small IoT device, which is this small, and I will invite everyone to come and see it next doors during the intermission. So a small device this small, it has about 400 GPU cores by NVIDIA in it. So you plug in the power, you plug in the camera, and it works. All the processing happens in real time on the device. We have full control over it. So if, let's say, next year we want to do voice analysis, weapon detection, body posture, any AI you want to deploy, you can deploy it within an instant, the same way that your Tesla updates when you're driving it. So it is a platform essentially for AI. We are starting from business events, conferences, trade shows, but I don't know if you have flew through the International Hobby Airport, if you have flew through the Bush Airport in Houston, we have cameras there, we have cameras in retail stores. There's really very few things we cannot do with the technology. So that's our pitch. We have a team here in Austin, we have a team in Europe, up until California. Some of them, they are here today. So I invite you all to come see the technology in real life and experience it. Thank you.
Thank you. That was 2.5 minutes. Feedback from Don.
Can you say who your target customer that you expect the greatest growth from, the segment, and maybe some success story?
We are starting from business events, trade shows, conferences, and so forth. So if you are the event organizer, you want to know which speakers are the most effective. You want to understand volume of people throughout different areas of the venue. But also the exhibitors. Right now, exhibitors have only one metric of success. How many leads did we capture when we went to exhibit? And many of them spend $100,000, $500,000, even $1 million per trade show. So optimizing the lead retrieval process, it's crucial for them. So our technology helps them get more metrics. You know, how many people walked by, what percent stopped, what design works, which activation is very effective. And some of our clients include Ernst & Young, Facebook, Keller Williams. It is a very, very niche market, but it has lots of potential. Every company has a business events department. So that's where we're starting from.
So maybe talk about the business model, because the conference business is not a high-volume business.
It depends on whom you're working with. So it depends whom you're working with. So when you start playing with names such as Informa, Freeman, and so forth, it becomes a volume play. So Freeman, they're doing about 300 events per week. And we became our preferred vendor for this business. So you're right that many of the annual conferences, like user conferences, sales kickoffs, they are smaller, but the amounts of contracts we're talking about, a company can easily spend anywhere from 100 to 2 or even 300K on a single event for the need tracking. So it might be less volume in a sense, but it's very, very high margin and very high net worth.
And so where do you see scaling your growth? How do you get to 10 million, 50 million in annual revenue?
Our lead investor initially asked me this question, and when we did the math, he said, well, you can get to 100 million just from events. I'm like, yes, we can get to $100 million just from events, but we're also having deployments in retail, in airports. You can put amusement parks, museums, offices, hotels, anything that has a physical aspect where you want to analyze consumer behavior. That's exactly what we do. Last but not least, our devices have the ability to change content in projectors, screens, digital displays, so we can personalize advertisements in retail stores. And we have done already pilots like this, and in some cases we're increasing sales 3 to 4 times up compared with before. So it's like a way to think about it, like online advertising, but for physical spaces.
Okay. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Zenas. Thank you so much, Don. And with that, we're going to the next team, Group 1. Please don't fall.
Hi there, my name is Alexander Giroux. I'm co-founder and CEO of Group 1. Group 1 is an engineered materials company commercializing the world's first cathode material for potassium-ion batteries. We're commercializing technology originally developed and a Nobel Prize winner and inventor of the lithium-ion battery, Professor John Goodenough out of UT Austin. We have an executive team, my co-founder and inventor of the potassium precision white cathode material, Legon. We invented this in 2017. Going through the questions you asked me. This is a second material company that I've started. My last one, I went through Y Combinator, ended up raising $25 million, rolled out core technology from my PhD work at Tulane. That turned into a portfolio of 1 patent to 30. We're looking to do the same thing with a different material, new lab, larger market. We're looking at a $1 trillion total addressable market by 2030. There's 3 co-founders, myself, the entrepreneur, my chief product officer, Legang, who's the inventor, and our chief science officer, Yakov, was chief technology officer of Cabot Corporation for the past 20 years, taking materials from gram to ton scale. We recently came out of stealth 2 months ago, closed 800K so far, and have an open $5 million round going on safes. And for investors looking to lead on an equity investment, we're open to conversations for a $10 million round. Please come find me. We'd love to talk more about batteries and how we're going to tackle this climate change catastrophe we have in our hands.
Thank you. That was 2 minutes. Gabriel with feedback, please.
Sure. Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, so the battery space, I mean, we've got a bit of understanding about that. I think what I maybe missed was it's a materials company. I think it's cathode side of the battery is what I heard. What are you doing that's better? Why is it important? Why does it matter? What is the value proposition?
Sure. So potassium-ion batteries is an answer to the supply chain and the domestic reliability we have on lithium, rare earth, or heavy metal elements, nickel, cobalt, etc. So this is a cathode material that is just potassium, carbon, nitrogen, and manganese. So it involves no lithium, and there's no no cobalt and no nickel. And this gives us an opportunity to leverage the asymmetrical scaling of battery capacity and material. There's not enough raw materials to go around for all the battery capacity that will be here over the next 10 years. And we need a domestic supply chain, as we've all understood and experienced over the past few years. So this gives us an opportunity to also leverage the current economic landscape, but also the Inflation Reduction Act is also incentivizing OEMs and EV companies to form domestic supply chains. So this also is an answer to getting more batteries here in quicker time.
Okay, and so I guess being on the cathode side, are there and given its unique material, are there I guess integration issues with existing technologies, lithium ion in particular?
Yeah, most battery companies have failed because of a lack of foresight and adoption risk. So my last company focused on silicon materials on the anode and making them as drop-in as possible. This is the same. The anode is graphite. The cathode is, instead of just LFP or NCM, it's potassium precious white. So it's a powder for powder change. It's dropping at the battery level where there's no change in how the battery is manufactured. It looks completely the same. I've worked with VW, Toyota, Mitsui, ATL. The battery is completely the same. The powder, it's engineered to look exactly as what it's replacing. And we don't position this as a competitor to lithium ion. It's not competing technology. There's going to be a gap, and this is taking a piece of that gap, which unfortunately, even if we have a lot of success, we will still have a gap. So it's in order to address that gap, we need to make this as drop-in as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much. Next team up is Yoda, please.
Good evening. My name is Omid Badkube. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Yada Energy. think Andres remembers us when we first started. I was a little geek, and I'm here 5 years later. So a couple things I've learned of running a clean tech hardware-based startup. Don't do it. It's hard. It's a long road. But there's one qualifier that will determine whether you're going to make it or not. And it's really down to the determination of the founder, how crazy they are, how passionate they are about what it is that they're pursuing, and whether they're willing to continue to push, defying all the odds that are against them. So at Yada, we started with a crazy concept. Much like microinverters are now very popular for distributed energy, for distributed solar, we wanted to carry that same concept to energy storage. So we created a panel-level storage device that's powered with lithium iron phosphate batteries. And in order to do that and put it on a roof and be taken seriously, we had to develop some core thermal management. So we looked around, and there was some technology used in space that used phase change materials to do heat exchanger. So we dialed that in and figured out a way to make it completely solid state. So that's where we started. We have a battery pack that co-locates directly behind solar modules. So we make it very easy to install a solar plus storage system. We're actually the only company that makes solar plus storage an actual reality. For most other technologies, it's solar and storage, and they're two very different industries that don't usually coexist. From there, we analyzed the market and customer feedback, and we realized that it wasn't good enough to just have a battery, but we had to create the solution. So we created a really good partnership with the second largest microinverter company, and we created our own microinverter architecture. So we now have a completely decentralized solar plus storage system. So all of these industrial rooftops that you see, they can deploy these systems, and we're kind of now waiting for this perfect storm. The price of power is going up rapidly. There's going to be a 2 to 3x increase in demand for electricity driven by electric vehicle adoption. And all that's going to mean is all this beautiful real estate, the best place to put solar energy is where you actually use it, because you have the least amount of losses, and you're actually helping the grid, versus just utility scale solar, which is great, but it's just another power plant. So from there, we are actually unveiling 3 new products this Friday at our headquarters. My wonderful event organizer, Audrey's in the back there, so if anyone wants an invite, please go and see her. We're going to be launching something that goes into e-mobility, building management software, and then a whole new product that's going to really accelerate electric vehicle adoption in remote areas and bring fast charging to national parks, cities that don't have the infrastructure.
3 minutes, I'm sorry.
Yep, thank you, and buildings.
Thank you so much. This is like speed dating with geeks. This is amazing. Love it. So help me understand real quick, please. You explained the whole motivation from microinverter being decentralized inverter rather than the one, main inverter that if one gets shaded, then you're screwed, basically like that. Mm-hmm. But you took that to storage. What's the benefit of that? So I spent a good 4 or 5 years of my career designing battery systems for businesses and homes. And one of the most cumbersome things in placing batteries for homes and businesses is where the hell the batteries were going. And so the idea was, well, if you can solve that and just say by default it's going to go on the rooftop, you eliminate this whole process, which actually costs a lot of money. You have to send an engineer, you have to do a site assessment, you have to figure out where battery systems go. Most commercial buildings, you're paying for space, and then you're taking away this beautiful space with a shipping container. That's the status quo. But then there's a lot of architectural benefits as well. We have the highest DC conversion ratio because we are DC-DC and we only convert to AC one time. And then most C&I market uses ballast weight, and so our battery actually offsets concrete ballast blocks, which the installers love that. They hate lugging up concrete blocks on a rooftop. So now they're kind of doing 2 products in one. So simplicity always wins. Makes sense. Are there benefits in terms of cable management as well? I would assume you still have to run the same amount of cables, but you're now running a high voltage cable, not low voltage cable. Is that where
Our
the benefits
entire
come
architecture is low voltage, which is a huge benefit. So we don't add any additional cables. So if you're going to have a solar system on a rooftop that's just inverters, our battery plugs in between the solar panel and that inverter. There's no additional infrastructure. It's the battery plus a gateway, and voila, you have energy storage.
Okay. How many projects have you installed yet? How much gigawatt are on the roofs so far?
We've done about, we're not in the gigawatts stage yet, but we've done about 12 projects so far. We are going through our production ramp up right now, so we've partnered with Flextronics. But doing a production ramp up over the last 2 years has been the living hell because of component shortages. But we're just now on track to do our first about 3 megawatts Q1 and Q2 of next year.
Got it. So I assume you are well funded so far?
We've raised about 25 million, but the first stages were the hardest.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I would have guessed about 30 or something like that. Yeah. So where are you going from here? What is the next step? Is it market penetration? Is it scaling? Is it, you said you were introducing new products. Is that the next step for you?
Yeah, the next step for us is, so it's all about how do you tie the need for energy storage? And so the quickest need for energy storage is to hedge against demand charges that electric vehicles will bring to the grid. So that's why we've branched into the e-mobility space. So by default, let's say you have a commercial building and you call us up and you say, I need 10 EV chargers. We're like, great, let's slap on 100 batteries, and now you won't have any demand charges. And most utilities across the country, they're moving their rate structure away from kilowatt hour consumption to demand charges. So in California, if you take your utility bill, usually half of the cost is demand charges. And you can't address that with just solar.
So I take it then your predominant customers are folks with large flat roofs, not so much the offline grid storage or anything like that.
Yeah, that's our first market, but we have a really exciting product you should come see Friday that does off-grid as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Mead, and thank you, Hauke.
Thank you so much.
Next team up is Grid Pathway, please.
Good evening. My name is Richard Scrindy. I'm a three-hat startup entrepreneur, and my first hat, I'm the inventor of the robotic state engine that, when it's network embedded, forms the robotic adaptive collaboration framework, for which I hold a series of continuation patents. This man-machine decision-making system evolves legacy humans as controllers using computers as tools into a peer-based collaboration of equal partners as expressed by the new hybrid cognition metaphor. Adaptive algorithms introduced in the Mars space program cognitively optimize and predict collaborative effects of clusters of cyber-physical edge devices that comprise an intelligent infrastructure. It features an adaptive control that allows either the human or the system to select autonomy levels from full manual to full auto, and it supports an open architecture that enables plug-and-play integration via transparent insertion, backward compatibility, forward future-proofing, and SimOps capabilities. In my second hat, I'm the CEO and founder of Grid Pathway, a startup that is commercializing my invention. Our initial target is the electric power grid. Our solution harmonizes ever faster grid system dynamics and ever increasing grid complexity caused by the vast numbers of new DER endpoints being attached to the grid that must be managed, sensed, and/or controlled. We preserve a 60-year industry investment into its legacy hub-and-spoke infrastructure by seamlessly interoperating between this industrial-era limitation and modern IoT edge computing. We enable modern edge control deployment in a legacy operations footprint, and the enabling technologies that support us are the new Intel digital substation platform, where you'll see Michael Bates tomorrow, the new LTE private networks that were demonstrated here, and the emerging LF Energy edge computing paradigm that simplified the edge controller to substation interface. Third, I'm a TXST Connected Infrastructure Initiative ambassador working with Andres, and our disruptive technology will be developed in his new lab complex. We are bringing our Grid Pathway team to that lab, which includes the Electric Power Research Institute, the Southwest Research Institute, and the National Science Foundation Grid Labs. Our primary constituent, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, is raising public development funds to support proof of concept development and wide area testings with utilities on the ERCOT grid. Equity funding will enable the commercial company. The IBEW will lead the go-to-market effort. Its 750,000 member army will swarm an industry-wide licensing campaign, driving a multi-$100 billion business and receive the royalties to bolster its pension fund. The IBEW will then install and support the technology, assisted by its 300 training centers to train its next generation of high-tech workers. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, 3 minutes for feedback.
Yes, Richard, good to see you. The legacy technology that has been around for so long, you have designed your system from the edge in, edge out to really interact with them. How do you think that you can really go ahead with a public-private kind of situation and put your new technology on the legacy situation that's been around for so long and doing such a great job?
Well, you know, the great job is kind of an arguable issue, and we know in the utility industry that the pain of maintaining the status quo has to get far greater than the pain of the corrected change for things to happen. And you look at Hawaii, you look at California, as DER penetration reaches 10%, the grid goes unstable, nobody has an answer. We trusted the Department of Energy in 2014 to build us a 50% DER shovel-ready grid modernization package. The leadership at the DOE doing that project bailed in June. So it's time the IBEW decided to get the rest of industry together and take that work product and get it finished. And I have some research I've been doing over the past decade with the thought leadership of grid modernization. And you have to fly the jet while you're fixing it, so you can't get rid of the legacy stuff. You have to encapsulate it, and we did it in IT with the mainframe. We didn't get rid of it. We put smart servers around it, and we built adapters into the old dinosaur, and the new next ring of computational power is what everybody used, and that's what will happen in the substation.
So the value proposition is usually academic and industry and government. So you have added labor to that proposition.
Yeah, they've
kind
of gone from the back of the bus to the front of the bus.
Right, so when you put labor, which has never been done in that proposition, so when you put labor in the general overall value proposition, how do you think this really enhances people to invest in what you're doing? Tell me, what does labor bring to the market? Because this is the first time that labor has been put in a proposition, which I think is brilliant, by the way, rather than just in academic, government, and industry.
Well, one, the IBEW did the political and legislative lobbying recently in the bipartisan infrastructure law and got the $60 billion earmarked for grid modernization budgeted. They sit on the Biden Energy Task Force. They have the most powerful lobby in Washington, and the Obama era promised them high-tech jobs. Biden has promised them high-tech jobs. The DOE just opened up 2 new offices, and they're passing out that grid modernization money for political patronage more than getting industry to fix the grid. So the IBEW will go broke with its pension fund if they can't get young people to become apprentices, and you can't find kids that know what a pair of pliers does. They all want to work with high tech. The IBEW realizes this, and modernizing the substation puts them into keyboards and screens and software. There's 70,000 substations, and they got a relationship manager with every one of those. They know everybody involved, and they're going to make points selling it. So it's a pretty dynamic business model, because their closing argument is, well, you don't have to buy this, but you don't want labor trouble, do you?
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, John. Next one up, please, is Stealth Power.
All right, first of all, thank you so much. Thank you for coming and giving us the opportunity to give this pitch. I just want to say that. It's great to have everybody here. My name is Trace Hill, and I'm the CTO of an Austin company, Stealth Power. Before joining Stealth Power, I worked for Microsoft. I was in the OEM engineering services team, focused on the deployment of embedded systems. I worked with every major OEM in EMEA to deploy a wide variety of embedded systems, whether it was medical imaging, industrial automation, and many other workloads. Right before coming to Stealth Power, I worked for ARM, also here in Austin, and I was with the ISG group, which anyway, was ultimately spun off, but we focused on deploying systems securely that were based on ARM embedded processors, and that's what I did right before joining Stealth Power. The reason that I came to Stealth Power is because of the mission. So I wake up every day and I'm really excited about the mission of Stealth Power. And the mission of Stealth Power is to turn off combustion engines. So that's what we do every day. We deploy technologies, extremely innovative solutions that are designed to turn off every combustion engine workload you can think of. So we take vehicles, we take ambulances, we take utility trucks, we take paratransit vans, and we turn those engines off, and yet we keep the air conditioning and all the electronic systems in those vehicles on, and we do that with a battery pack. So we hybridize, and we hybridize literally about every workload that you can possibly imagine. We hybridize vehicles. By the way, I'm also very interested in batteries, so we're going to talk about that. We take generators that are in remote locations, and we hybridize them. We add renewables, and we add battery packs to those. In some cases, we can turn off those generators for 90% of their duty cycles. We're currently building a prototype hybrid vehicle for the U.S. military. We have we got a SBIR. We have SBIR awards from the U.S. government to build prototypes for the Humvee and other military vehicles to turn them into hybrid vehicles. Our technologies currently power no-fail missions. So we're on every ambulance in New York City right now, and they told us when we went in that the one thing that could not happen is we could not take down an ambulance, and we never have, and we won't. So we focus on no-fail missions. We delivered extremely robust, extremely reliable solutions to those markets. We also power the FAA towers all along, over 170 towers along the border, the southern and the northern border of the United States. They're powered off of battery packs with solar, so I'm very interested in talking with them and others. Our system never went down. So the entire grid in Texas went down, not one of our systems went down when that whole snowpocalypse happened. All right, so when we turn off an engine, we save our customers on fuel costs, we save them on maintenance costs. Our systems pay for themselves in 12 to 18 months. And if the price of fuel goes to $6, we pay it off even faster than that. You'd get all those benefits, and then of course we're also not putting CO2 or other particulate emissions into the atmosphere.
I apologize, I'm going to cut you off, 3 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm going to pass the mic on to Craig for feedback.
Great.
Hey, thank you very much.
Sure.
Really interesting. Could you talk a little bit more? You described a lot of applications. In the vehicle applications, are you hybridizing the whole vehicle, including the drivetrain, or are you just taking the ancillary loads off of the engine?
The auxiliary loads.
Got it.
So we keep the air, but more than that, we do the air conditioning. So we put in a battery-powered compressor, we put in a hydronic heater, we keep the crews comfortable, we keep all the computers and all the electronics in that ambulance turned on.
And so do you guys have standard product, or do you sort of design systems depending on the vehicle?
We've come a long way. We have standard product now. We integrate with the CAN data network in the vehicle. So we have a T-harness. We don't cut one wire in the vehicle. It takes 15 minutes to go and install our T-harness. We communicate with the vehicle to know when it's safe to turn the engine on and off. We have to know if it's in park, for example. And so we've come a long way. The original system that we deployed, where we're cutting wires and we're butt connecting signals to know the state, and now we communicate directly on the CAN data network with the vehicle. The other key thing is we collect data. So we get data from every system that we deploy. That's why we're at this conference as well. So every system that we ship includes data. So we don't just tell you what the system does, we show you. And we do custom dashboards.
Awesome. And how long have you guys been doing this, and what's the size of the company?
Going back to 2015 is when we first got the contract with New York City to do FDNY. And so we're cash flow positive. We're an LLC. We have purchase order, significant purchase orders going into the fall, and we're looking to help with growth. We had this huge hockey stick. We're doing systems for Goodyear. We're doing systems for Excel Energy. We're doing systems. We won these SBIRs, with the military. We need help growing. And by the way, for years, nobody ever called us. We would call them, and they never called us back. And I'm telling you, in the last 18 months, there's been, I think the other energy companies can say this too, there's been a sea change. We're getting the ESG scores and people wanting to improve. We help companies turn off engines 20% of the time, immediately. So whatever fleet you have, you can turn off your engines 20% of the time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Greg. Yes, round of applause.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you, Trez, and thank you to our judges. Next team up is laundries, please.
Hello, everyone. Wake up. Let's wake up. Get excited. Before I get started, I just wanted to ask one quick question. Has anyone in here ever walked out of a hotel accidentally with a robe, a towel, or something, and just happened to be in your bag? Okay. So let me tell you something. What you should know is for a 400-room hotel, the second largest expense behind labor is actually textiles. And so this is a $4.2 trillion market that we're attacking at Laundress. My name is Don Ward. I'm the CEO and founder of Laundress, most recently recognized by the American Business Awards and HCL Technologies for excellence in transforming business, and recognized as one of the top 25 startups to look at in Austin for 2025, or 2022, going to 2023. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of what we walked through in a problem in terms of what we're seeing in the industry right now. There is an urgency to automate for hotels like this. They're having issues since COVID, recession concerns, and it's harder to find labor. Where we come in from a solution perspective is we help them to understand their inventory in real time using a combination of RFID technology along with artificial intelligence and scanners. In Austin, we have approximately 17 hotels, and what you may not know is one of the smartest hotels in Austin is currently using the technology, and I'm pretty excited because we've been able to uncover data points that nobody has ever seen with the scanning technology, meaning that we can correlate the historical data that we've received from their occupancy. We can combine that with the scanning technology that is tracking in and out inventory in real time, and we're starting to show that with that analysis, we can save that particular hotel over $100,000 per year. And I know it sounds lame because it's just laundry. Our team is based here. We're based out of the Capital Factory. We're growing. We've basically bootstrapped over the last couple of years. We're actually heading into the seed phase of our fundraising efforts right now. And the last thing I'll leave you with is there are 59,221 hotels in America that are having this problem. Less than 0.5% are using any of this technology. This is a huge market, and we're going to dominate. And so, as I close, I just want to say, be careful what you're walking out of a hotel with, because we might catch you. But the beautiful thing about this is it extends to healthcare, military, and other use cases. Thank you.
Don. And feedback from Steve.
Excellent presentation, and thank you for waking the crowd up. When you put your facility in, I'm assuming that your cost advantage is automation, reducing the head count, and capitalizing over operations. What impact do you have on water demand and effluent with your facilities? What's the advantages there?
Was that water demand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you an example. We're actually engaged in a conversation with a hotel in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they have an on-premise laundry facility. When you start looking at the historical bookings data along with the forecast data that we're pulling from scanning technology, we can actually tell them what type of inventory is going to be needed on January 15th of next year. What we uncovered with that is with that on-premise laundry facility, once they know the inventory usage that's coming through the hotel, the number of items, they can actually take the factory or the facility that they have on-premise, and instead of running it 5 days per week, they can run it 2 days per week. And when they run it 2 days per week, they're using less electricity, they're using less water, and they're using less and there's less waste. And so for them, there's an immediate bottom line savings for them. And that's happening right now in real time. We're actually going to do that deal. We have about 17 customers right now, and we have some pretty good customers in the pipeline, like MGM Resorts, Margaritaville, Hyatt's. So yeah, we're gaining a lot of traction.
Does that result in a measurable headcount reduction?
I would like to say reallocation instead of reduction.
Fair enough.
Yeah, for revenue generating purposes, but it depends on what the ultimate objective of that particular property is.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Don. And last but definitely not least, and at this point I want to say thank you to the first team presenting and to the last team presenting, but to all of you, you're amazing. Thanks for sticking to the time. We're going to listen to Sensor Industries.
Hey folks, thanks for having me. I'm Nick Benz, VP of Operations at Sensor Industries. Sensor is an Internet of Things technology company, and we're surgically focused on water conservation. I'm going to touch briefly on our flagship product, our toilet leak detection sensor. After conducting extensive research and verifying that with studies by the EPA and American Water Works, we were able to validate that toilets are public enemy #1 of indoor water waste. Over time, a toilet can be expected to waste roughly half the water going through it. And if you see me on the streets, you'll hear me muttering to myself that all toilets leak, it's just a matter of time. And at any given time, only a minority of the toilets are actually leaking. So to do some quick napkin math, we know that the inlet flow for a toilet is approximately 3.5 gallons per minute, and the average cost of water in the US is just under 2 cents per gallon. So for an unchecked toilet leak to run 24 hours, we're looking at an owner not wasting just 5,000 gallons of water, but also spending roughly $100. So now let's let our jaws drop a little bit and extrapolate that out for a 100-unit apartment owner or 200-unit hotel owner who's now unknowingly dedicated a sizable overhead to their operating model to simply leaky toilets. So defining the hard requirements for an ideal solution to this problem, you would want endpoint monitoring with real-time notifications, ease of implementation, and scalability for enterprise customers. With this information, both research and requirements, Sensor Industries introduced our SI Mesh Network and Sensor Suite with our toilet leak detection sensor front and center. The system scales elegantly across massive properties, monitoring thousands of fixtures at a time, but also enabling our customers to add additional sensors like our flood detection sensor whenever they want. This is all tightly packaged and presented on our dashboard, which is great for any data junkie like myself to run a trending analysis report. But the magic sauce of this system is enabling the customers' boots on the ground maintenance technicians, the action heroes as I call them, with our work order mobile app, allowing them to access, manage, and close out their work orders in real time. This suddenly injects accountability into the equation and seamlessly integrates our solution with our already hectic day-to-day ops. One such poster child would be the MacArthur Park Tower property in Los Angeles. This is a RHF property that we were able to fund with the California Water Action Collaborative and then get rebates through both LADWP and the Metropolitan Water District. They're saving over 1.3 million gallons of water a year with this technology, roughly a 25% reduction that earned them the 2022 Water Innovation Award with the Department of Energy's Better Buildings Challenge. Now, this is certainly a feather in our cap, but it's not the only feather in our cap because it's something we've replicated across nearly 200 properties and almost 20,000 toilets across the US. This data has confidently secured our position as the product market fit to this problem. And when we bundle that with our largest known repository of toilet leak and performance data, I can share confidently that we are handedly equipped to take on this problem. And the next step is just to scale. With that, we have our Series A fund open, and I'd love to talk about it more. It's currently scheduled for $6.5 million. Please find me. Thanks.
Thank you. With that, to Don.
So speak a little bit on your go-to-market, because this is the great opportunity is it's a huge market, but it's highly stratified from the mega apartment multi-dwelling owner operators that can have 10, 20,000 units down to small firms that might have 10 or 12 apartment buildings all the way over to hotels. So the channels are quite complex here.
Yeah, you know the space well. So the fun turn of phrase is the heads in beds business. So you have REITs of all shapes and sizes, mid-sized. Small size would be 10 properties, maybe all the way up to your gray stars and equity residentials that are operating hundreds of thousands of units. So we have articulated well are our GTM verticals, and we certainly have hospitality and timeshares and all those associated big box brands, and part of that is getting your brand adoption with them and going through all those vendor hurdles. We similarly have a multifamily vertical, and this is where you are creating an ESG solution for water, which quite frankly there's not a lot of solutions for, and so they're happy to jump up at that. One of the verticals that I'm still maintaining in my role would be the water conservation and sort of rebate piloting program through municipalities and utilities that allows the folks who need this technology the most, the Section 8 and low-income housing properties who need the technology but don't have the capital latitude to deploy it, allows them to exercise rebates to their local municipalities and get it in place and create, you know, a showstopper case study for those that are interested.
Who actually sells the product?
We do.
Pardon me?
We do.
So you have a sales force that goes out to
Yep.
the management companies?
Correct. Yeah.
Do you see an opportunity to scale this through partnerships?
Absolutely.
And
So in-house,
what does that look like?
We have in-house sales, but we also have channel partners by way of sales agents and value-added resellers.
And the impedance to growth and going fast here?
At this point would probably be capital for scale, strategic new hires, progress on expanding the product suite, because right now we're focusing what we're really good on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Steve for our closing remarks.
Well, are we doing any deliberation, or we're, no, okay.
Well, I think we owe a round of applause to all 8 of the presenters tonight. A wide breadth of technologies, all of which are interesting, all of which have great opportunities for us. We want to thank all of you for spending some time tonight, and I would heartily encourage you to stick around and visit with these folks now that the official part of this panel is over, and I'll turn it over to Andreas.
We have drinks next door.